Welcome to my story time by mybooksummary.com. Get ready for quick wisdom of countless stories and explore. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Chapter 1. The Mischievous Boy of St. Petersburg. In the warm and sleepy town of St. Petersburg, Missouri, where the Mississippi River lazily curved through the land, lived a boy named Tom Sawyer. Now, Tom wasn't just any boy. He was the kind of child who could make an adventure out of thin air, charm his way out of trouble, and turn punishment into playtime. One bright summer afternoon, Tom's Aunt Polly, a sharp but soft-hearted woman, caught him skipping school and sneaking out to go swimming. "Tom Sawyer," she called, hands on her hips. "Didn't I tell you to stay out of trouble?" Tom, blessed with the ability to talk his way out of anything, wiped his brow and sighed dramatically. "Oh, Aunt Polly, I was just out in the fields thinking about how much I love you." Aunt Polly rolled her eyes. She knew this boy's tricks all too well. "You, sir, are in for a good scrubbing and a firm talking to." But just as she reached for him, Tom darted away, laughing, disappearing down the street like a rabbit escaping a fox. Thus began another day in the life of Tom Sawyer, the master of mischief and king of childhood adventures. Chapter 2. The greatest whitewashing scheme in history. The next morning, Tom woke up feeling victorious, until Aunt Polly handed him a bucket of whitewash and a brush. "You'll spend the whole day painting this fence," she announced, smiling sweetly. Tom's heart sank. The fence stretched 3 miles long, or so it felt, and the sun was blindingly hot. Just as he was about to groan in despair, his best friend, Ben Rogers, came strolling by, munching on a big, juicy apple. "Ha! You got stuck with work while I get to go swimming," Ben teased. Tom, ever the schemer, suddenly had an idea. He sighed dramatically, dipped his brush in the paint, and began stroking the fence as if he were a master artist painting the Sistine Chapel. "This ain't work, Ben," Tom said, squinting at the fence with a serious expression. "This is art. Only a special fella like me gets to do it." Ben's grin faded. "Really? Oh, sure," Tom said, stepping back as if to admire his masterpiece. "Aunt Polly trusts me with it, 'cause not everyone's got the touch." Ben dropped his apple and begged to try. Tom, after much pretend reluctance, handed over the brush. By the time the afternoon sun dipped lower, half the boys in town had painted the fence for him, each trading their favorite toys and snacks for the privilege. And so, Tom learned an important life lesson. If you make something seem special, people will line up to do it for you. Chapter 3. Tom falls in love. Tom, feeling invincible after his whitewashing victory, strutted through town, until he saw her. Becky Thatcher. She was new in town with golden curls, bright blue eyes, and the air of an angel. Tom, suddenly tongue-tied, did what any 10-year-old boy in love would do. He started showing off. He whistled loudly, did backflips, and made a dramatic leap over a fence, which ended in falling face-first in the dirt. Becky giggled, pretending not to notice. That evening, Tom threw a flower at her window and ran away before she could see him. The next day, he accidentally on purpose sat next to her in school, looking utterly bored. "Do you like rats?" Tom asked, desperate to impress her. Becky wrinkled her nose. "No." Tom panicked. Wrong approach. He quickly recovered. "Want to get engaged?" "What's that?" Becky asked, intrigued. "It means I love you, you love me, and someday we'll get married." Becky blushed and nodded. Tom, feeling like a king, declared, "Then it's settled." Unfortunately, mere moments later, Tom accidentally mentioned a past engagement to another girl. Becky's eyes filled with tears. You awful thing," she cried, storming off. Tom, heartbroken, vowed to win her back. Chapter 4. The Midnight Graveyard Adventure. That night, unable to sleep from heartbreak, Tom snuck out to meet his best friend, Huckleberry Finn. Huck was the town's wildest boy, who lived free as the wind, with no parents to boss him around. That night, Huck had a plan. They would go to the graveyard and try a magical superstition involving a dead cat, because that's what boys in the 1800s did for fun. As they tiptoed among the tombstones, giggling, they saw something that made their blood run cold. 3 men were digging up a grave. Tom and Huck recognized Injun Joe, the town's most feared outlaw, along with Dr. Robinson and Muff Potter. Suddenly, a fight broke out, and before the boys could blink, Injun Joe stabbed Dr. Robinson in cold blood. Tom and Huck, terrified beyond words, ran for their lives. That night, they swore a solemn oath never to tell a soul, because if Injun Joe found out, they'd be next. Chapter 5. Treasure Hunting Gone Wrong. Weeks passed, and Tom tried to distract himself from the dark secret of the graveyard by hunting for buried treasure. With Huck as his partner, they set off toward an old, abandoned house, convinced that gold lay hidden inside. They crept through the dusty halls, hearts pounding, until they heard voices. Peeking through a crack in the floor, they saw Injun Joe again, this time hiding stolen gold. The boys held their breath, watching as Injun Joe buried the treasure under a cross. Tom and Huck knew they had to get to it first. Chapter 6: Lost in the Cave. One weekend, the town held a grand picnic by the river, and Becky Thatcher invited everyone. Tom, eager to win back her heart, joined. As the children played, Tom and Becky wandered off into a cave. But as they explored deeper, they realized they were lost. For hours, they searched for a way out, their lanterns flickering, their voices growing hoarse. And then Tom froze in terror. In the dim light, he saw Injun Joe. Horrified, Tom and Becky silently backed away and ran deeper into the cave. After what felt like days, Tom finally found an exit. They stumbled back into daylight, weak but alive. Days later, the town sealed the cave entrance, trapping Injun Joe inside forever. Final chapter: A treasure unearthed. After their narrow escape, Tom and Huck rushed back to the cave, knowing the gold was still hidden inside. Sure enough, beneath a cross, they found the stolen treasure. They were now rich beyond their wildest dreams. Tom, forever the adventurer, grinned at Huck. "We'll always have adventures, won't we?" And Huck, smiling for the first time in a long time, nodded. "Always." And so Tom Sawyer, the boy of mischief, imagination, and adventure, ended his summer not just with gold, but with stories that would last a lifetime. The end. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybooksummary.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends. And let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.